Welcome to True North Perspective. My name is Sean. We're going to jump right into the content today. First of all, before we do begin, I do want to thank you guys for your support. And just before we do go ahead, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. And again, I can't thank you enough for the support. It's you guys that have given me the confidence to continue and to try and grow and bring, all of you guys uncensored news around the world. Having said that, let's get right into the video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the current situation in Gaza right now. It is extremely critical. It is very dire. To me, it seems like Gaza's end is near, and I hate to say this, but I have to be honest, and I have to let you guys know that the situation doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon. It looks like they are, and when I say they, I mean the Israeli, Zionist regime is looking to displace all Palestinians from Gaza. The war has escalated. Benjamin Netanyahu has become very brazen and is openly now saying that he's going to march right in, and they're going to complete this. Look, it is not a hidden fact anymore that their plan was to create a greater Israel, which meant taking over a part of Syria, obviously, Palestine, parts of Jordan, parts of Syria, like I mentioned that, Yemen, and to create a greater Israel. And they don't care who they're going to, they don't really care as to who they're gonna, how they're gonna achieve this goal. If that means, displacing Palestinians or, killing them via genocide, they don't care. To begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you straight from the words of the devil himself, Benjamin Netanyahu, and this is very recent as to what he says about the genocide itself, and it should come as no surprise to you. So let's get right into that, and then we'll take it up on the other side. So this is the video, and let me very quickly play it for you. Here we go, and I'll restart it for you right now.
אנחנו אמרנו, לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית, ואכן לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית.
Let's watch it one more time here. Alright, so that's a very quick video. It's only 10 seconds, but one thing you should know about Israel's Likud party and the Zionists is that in English, when they do make announcements in English, they'll tone it down. But when it comes to announcements in Hebrew, they go all out. And what he said here is we're going to fulfill our promise that there will be no Palestinian state. This place belongs to us. As you know, UN, United Nations, and most of the countries and leaders are forcing a two-state solution. But, it doesn't look like he wants to, make it happen. So this is coming straight from, the coward's mouth who forces his people, his citizens to going to war. It's a crime if you don't, become a soldier. And there's an article that also has been published recently of mothers, of soldiers who are telling them not to go, even if that means going to prison, right? It's just sad. It's really sad to see that it's reached that state. I would say that a lot of Jewish people are also now, standing up and, are protesting to stop this war. Gaza, Palestine doesn't look like what it was. It's completely annihilated. So having said that, let's further look into what's going on here. I'm going to show you just a couple more videos and a couple more things here. So bear with me as I very quickly pull it up. All right. So first thing we're going to look at here is that there was a summit that was supposed to take place, an emergency Islamic summit hosted in Qatar early next week. Could be a game changer for new measures against Israel after its attack on Hamas in Doha, says Luciano Zakara, a Middle East political analyst. So we're going to take a look at this article and video. And, again, this ties in, as you know, that they've now started pushing into Qatar. They bombed Qatar and they bombed civilian areas, claiming that there was Hamas leadership actually, located within the premise, and there wasn't, right? Because Hamas came out and said that there's nobody there. The one thing it does really jeopardize the ceasefire and, their work towards ceasefire. But like I said, why work towards a ceasefire now when you've got folks like Benjamin Netanyahu, Smotrich, and Bezalel Smotrich who are saying, hey, we want Gaza at any cost, right? To them, it's just another piece of real estate. It's part of their huge project. So let's take a look at this article here. I'll show you, and we're going to watch a brief video as well too, and you'll see for yourself here.
Americans backing it completely.
Yeah, frankly, I found today's actions in the Security Council disappointing. I mean, the attack was named and condemned.
Now, Omar Rahman is a fellow at the Middle Eastern Council on Global Affairs. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Omar, you're watching that. Once again, Israel doesn't even get a slap on the wrist. The Americans backing it completely.
Yeah, frankly, I found today's actions in the Security Council disappointing. I mean, the attack was named and condemned, but the attacker was not named. It's much like what we're seeing in the press over the past 2 years in Gaza. You know, somebody bombs a hospital and kills 50 Palestinians, but that person is never named. And this is, you know, indicative of the larger failing of the international community to hold Israel accountable. And it is that impunity that has emboldened Israel to go further and further and further, crossing every possible red line, breaking every possible law, to the point where now it's, you know, not only carrying out this genocide in Gaza, it's not attacking 5, 6 countries in the region, and now is attacking an American ally and the mediator that is hosting the ceasefire negotiations, essentially on behalf of Israel, as well as Hamas and the international community, but on behalf of Israel as well, to get their, you know, hostages returned from Gaza. So it's unbelievable what Israel is doing, and the failure of the international community to really hold Israel accountable. I think this is one more failing in that sense.
But Omar, this is much more tougher than that, because Israel keeps insisting that these are Hamas terrorists, but they are not. So
I'm just going to stop the video for here and just kind of recap for you. So you can see that the war has now, you know, extended beyond just Palestine. It looks like, you know, they're now in Syria, and they've already, you know, we all know that they've bombed Syria, and, you know, they've used an excuse, to save their, Dream Brotherhood. They're also now in Qatar. So you can see that they're working towards kind of, just eliminating the Middle East and kind of taking it over, right? The worst part is that, you know, it's just talk right now, right? And that's what frustrates me the most, that it's completely talk. You know, oh yeah, we're going to sanction Israel, we're going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, but nothing happens, right? It's meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and what happens? The end, poor innocent children that are in Gaza, that are in West Bank, are just getting annihilated. And I'm going to show you some videos as we go down further the line of kids just running, and, you know, it's heartbreaking, because this one kid, you know, you can see that he's so used to running from bombs that he's just running, and he's got this, you know, grin on it. I wouldn't even say a grin, like a little frown on his face, but, you know, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, well, you know, this is just another normal day. And honestly, no child should have to grow up like that, you know. And we all know, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you're Jewish or Hindu, food, water, medical health, those are necessities. Those are basic human needs. Those are not war tactics, right? But then you have people like, you know, Netanyahu and his regime, and, you know, Donald Trump, who are, you know, who don't care. You know, Donald Trump is complicit because he's allowing this, he's enabling this, right? They are providing billions of dollars, right, in weaponry, and they're allowing open genocide, right? They don't care. They support Israel, which is a sad thing to see. You know, they don't value the life of one innocent child. Forget the fact that the child is Palestinian. Forget the fact that the child is Muslim. You know, the kid doesn't know what terrorism is. He doesn't know what Hamas is, or she rather, right? Both. But anyways, let's continue. And you can see here, there's nothing being done, no sanctions placed, and it's quite the opposite. You know, Donald Trump recently said that anybody that supports a two-state solution or supports, you know, Palestine, he's sanctioning them. What kind of mentality is that? All right, and it's so frustrating for me to see this. Anyways, let's continue on.
Not that. This attack would be like if the British attacked Sinn Féin representatives, the Irish representatives in Washington, D.C., whilst they were negotiating the Good Friday Agreement. This was an attack on not just Qatar, but America's diplomatic strategies as well.
Certainly. I mean, for what we've been told, these Hamas leaders were in this room to discuss a ceasefire proposal from the United States. So this was part of a negotiation process that the Qataris were mediating, and these leaders were there to essentially sign off on a ceasefire agreement, one that Israel itself has set the terms for. And Hamas has come a long way, especially under recent pressure from Qatar and others, to come to terms on this agreement. So they were there to sign a ceasefire accord, and Israel set out to sabotage that by killing them. And we've seen that pattern repeated over and over again. Israel has killed multiple negotiators, including from Hamas, but also the lead negotiator for Iran in the nuclear negotiations. That was one on the very first day. That was who they targeted.
So I'm going to stop here again just for a quick second, and you can see this is what they're doing. That they are basically, they are jeopardizing, the ceasefire by actually what they're doing is they're basically saying, okay, you know what, whoever the leader is and whoever is trying to, negotiate a ceasefire, we're going to take them out. They're compromising, and they're doing this on purpose, right? There's no hiding the fact that they're doing it on purpose. They're compromising, and they're purposefully taking out negotiators because they don't want to negotiate. Right? They're pretending like, oh yeah, we want to negotiate, we want peace. Benjamin Netanyahu every other day comes out and goes, oh, I want peace. But whenever there's any negotiation sent in, or, any type of, reasonable caveats put out by Palestine, by Hamas, it's like, no, we reject it. Look, the bottom line is what Hamas or what Hamas wants, on behalf of Palestine is that they're willing to say, hey, you know what, we'll leave, we'll drop our arms, but they want, permanent peace. They want a two-state solution, which which is reasonable, right? I think that's more than doable. Anyways, and so basically what the reporter here is saying that, number one, that they attacked, Qatar, which is an ally of Washington, and they just gave a $400 million jet to Donald Trump, and, they continue to, Israel continues to undermine U.S., and they're attacking Qatar, and they're making the excuse that Hamas is there. In fact, there's more articles that also claim that, U.S. had no idea, they were notified a few minutes before the attack, or a few minutes after the attack, and we'll get that into the whole Doha and Qatar thing in a different video, but I wanted to show you this. So let's continue. What I'm trying to show you here is that, both the U.S. and Israel are working together. One thing, although they're saying, the other thing I should say, without trying to contradict myself here, is that although they're saying that they didn't know, there's also another article says that Donald Trump himself knew but didn't communicate. Like, he knew that he also greenlighted it, and I believe that he knew but he wasn't communicating, because we all know that he does whatever he wants. His staff, his cabinet can tell him, don't do this. This is a bad idea. This is going to jeopardize this, or I'll compromise this. He doesn't care. He's going to go for it, right? And that's what's happening. Is that is generally how he runs his government. And if you're really interested, in the insight of what Donald Trump is like and how he runs, his administration and his cabinet, I would say read Michael Wolff's Fire and Fury. It's a good start, because it'll give you an idea of how how their cabinet is made up. I mean, obviously it's changed now, but generally they run the same way, right? But in any case, you can see, they're very disorganized. He does what he wants. He doesn't want anybody's advice, and it's costing millions of lives, right? So let's continue doing that. Let's continue watching the video.
While the Americans were negotiating with Iran over its nuclear program. So this is part of a pattern of behavior by Israel to sabotage any efforts to end war, as Netanyahu hopes to perpetuate this for the time being, or perhaps indefinitely, while he evades his political reckoning within Israel, and while he reshapes both what's happening on the ground in Palestine and also in the larger region. I think Israel has now gone from the point of seeking deterrence after October 7th, the restoration of that deterrence through brutal, cruel, overwhelming force, to now seeking domination in the region, hegemony. And anybody who raises their fist or even looks at Israel crosswise is going to be attacked. And we're seeing that in the statements of Netanyahu and the statements of other Israeli leaders, completely unrepentant after what's happened. They're saying, we'll do it again. If the opportunity presents itself in Qatar, it doesn't matter. That was echoed by the ambassador in the Security Council today, who said it doesn't matter if it's in Gaza, it doesn't matter if it's in Tehran or in Doha. If we want to go after these people, we'll continue to go after them. So completely unrepentant, and describing what they're going to do and their violations of international law.
So there you go, and I'm going to stop the video there. You can watch the rest on your own, because otherwise the video, my video, will become very, very big, or rather, it'll be quite long, and I don't want to keep you up all together here for a long time. But anyways, basically what the reporter was saying is that they've reached a point, and I think they crossed this point a long time ago, but they don't care anymore. Netanyahu does not care anymore. He's instructed his army and his cabinet that, hey, do whatever it takes to basically eliminate Palestine, to complete the genocide. It doesn't matter what they need to do, where they need to attack, whether it be Yemen, whether it be Doha, whether it be Iran, they're going to do it. And this leads me to my next point, that with the war that's going, that currently, currently was paused a few months ago between Iran and Israel. Don't be surprised if that continues, because they're not done. Like I said, remember my words, bookmark this, share this video, because they are going after the great Israel state. That's what they want. They believe, and again, it comes down to their religious beliefs, but we'll get into that into another video, right? And this is another article here that has been written, and you can see this is from today. It's September the 12th. Okay, and again, I'll link the actual video, as well as a blog for you to read, and I'd say keep up with it. And here it is, an emergency Arab Islamic summit hosted in Qatar early next week could be a game changer for measures against Israel. Luciano Zakara, Middle East political analyst, has told Al Jazeera Doha meeting is slated for Sunday and Monday, and could result in joint action over security, technology, or tourism. Zakara said. Already, the UAE has banned Israel from joining a Dubai Defense Expo scheduled for November in response to the attack. These are very strong signals that next week's summit will hear something more than declarations and condemnations, Zakara added. We'll see at least some measures that can be taken at the diplomatic level, at least in terms of concrete measures. In addition to its intensive campaign in Tulkarm, Israel's military has carried out raids and arrests in several other parts of the occupied West Bank, spanning the governorates of Ramallah, Hebron, and Nablus. According to Wafa news agency, Israeli forces seized a Palestinian home in town of Beitin near Ramallah and turned it into a makeshift military post, raided the town of Beit Umar near Hebron, where they arrested a man, set up checkpoints, and searched several homes, raided the town of Ad-Dariya near Hebron, arresting an elderly man and his son, while also raiding a nearby cattle market, raided the town of Kusra near Nablus without making any arrest. So I'm going to show you all this because, you know, I want to bring receipts to you, right? I want to show you exactly what they're doing. These are videos directly from Gaza, right? We already know that they're murdering 50 to 60 people a day. They're killing journalists because they do not want the truth to get out. But you know, these are some of these images are graphic, but don't turn your eyes away. Look at this, and this is from today. And this is a building. It is a residential building, guys. Look at that child. All right. So I'm asking you again. All right. What has that child done? Does that kid look like he's Hamas? Does he look like he's a terrorist? He's running. He's running. This is a clear picture. Look at this. Israeli warplanes continue bombing civilian homes in Gaza to force their displacement. There, you can see that. It's already been destroyed, but they're doing it more. That they just continue to bomb. They're annihilating Palestine and Gaza and the West Bank. They have leveled it, absolutely leveled it, okay? And we're not done yet. Look at this. So this here is also very sad. Civilian paramedics risk their lives to transport the dead in Gaza, and they're bombing them at the same time. Take a look. Look at that. Right? They're wearing the orange vests, right? They're trying to actually, look at that. You hear the bomb? Okay, and we're still not done. Look at this. This is the arrest that was mentioned in the previous article. Look at that. It's an 11-second video. Look at that. It's unbelievable, right? It is absolutely unbelievable. Let's keep going here. Don't look. And this is look at this here. Israeli bombing of Shati refugee camp in Gaza. Look, don't tell me that there is, you know, Hamas hiding in the refugee camps. These are innocent people that have nowhere to go. They're already displaced. They're already displaced. Hence the word, hence the refugee camp, right? But you're bombing that. Like, take a look here. Don't turn your eyes away, guys, because this is what's happening right now. Gaza's gonna be gone if you don't do something about it. Look at that. Let's keep going. We're still not quite done in here. Okay. Look at this here. So only 10 countries out of 164 voted against the UN resolution to establish the state of Palestine. Well, obviously Israel, obviously US, Argentina, Hungary, Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, Tonga. And the reason I'm showing you this, guys, is I'm begging you and I'm asking you for a huge favor that if you are buying anything from the United States that is made in the US, boycott it, right? If you're buying anything that's made in Israel, boycott it. Boycott whatever, you know, that is helping them with this war, whatever is giving them that money. It's not fair. Like Hungary, right? Micronesia, anything that you see, you know, just take a minute to turn the back of the bottle, you know, and it'll hit them. Believe me, it'll hit them. Starbucks, stop drinking Starbucks, right? If you're in Canada, go to Tim Hortons, you know, go somewhere else, go to Coffee Time. Stop that. Stop buying Coca-Cola, right? Do what you can to help them out. They need us right now, guys. You know, to me, from what I've learned, you know, is that if one human is suffering, you know, I should be able to, or we should be able to feel that pain as well too, right? Let's keep going here, and I showed you this video as you know before. And this is Trump's last statement, which I thought is very accurate. We're going to end the video with this. Actually, there's one more after this, but take a look at this, okay? This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. And he's clearly lying here because there's another article that I'll show you in a different video, so this video doesn't get extended too long, but he green-lighted this, okay? You're not only bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation, and a close ally of the United States. See, this proves that, you know, you could be a close ally of the United States. With Donald Trump being the president, it doesn't matter, right? Look at Canada. Canada was, you know, U.S.'s closest ally. Thank God, you know, they're not bombing here, but the annexation threats, the tariffs, right? The effort to, you know, jeopardize Canada's economy, that shows you Donald Trump is not a good person, okay? Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump, and the only way to teach him a lesson, the only way to get to him is to stand up to him, right? Stop buying made in U.S. products, you know, make your voices heard. Silent, you know, I mean, I would say, you know, non-violent protests. Stand up, you know, write letters to your MPs, write letters to your heads, so the Prime Minister, show them that we care about everybody around the world. This is just not about Palestinians, because I'm telling you now, you give Netanyahu Palestine, he's going to keep going. He's already is. Right, it's just like Russia and Putin. You give Putin that leverage, and you give him a bit of Ukraine, he's going to keep going. And again, I'll do that. You know, I'll show you in a different video. You can already see that there's drones going into Poland. Right, this is like basically World War III. There's destruction chaos, death everywhere around the world. So please go ahead and take a look at this here. And so let's just quickly finish reading this. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States, that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace. And again, to round it off again, there's the receipt. Qatar was helping negotiate peace, but they're sabotaging it. Israel and US are sabotaging it. Working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is worthy of goal. And again, this is a complete fabrication. It is non-true. I can show you. If you go back to some of my videos, you will see I've made a video on this where they've hired some militants, Islamic militants, to come in and rob. But it's Israel that has done that. There's proof out there. It's factual. Go look at some of my videos and you'll see that that's there. Okay, and so let's continue. Reading this, those living in Gaza, however, eliminating Hamas, who have profited of the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did, however, unfortunately too late to stop the attack. I view Qatar as a strong ally and a friend of the US and feel very badly about the location of the attack. I want all hostages and bodies of the dead released for this war to end now. I also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told me that he wants to make peace, which is a total, total lies. It is bullshit. I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. Again, it's complete. It doesn't make sense at all, right? That rhetoric is just not true. Also spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for the support and friendship to our country. I assured them that such a thing will not happen again on their soil. I directed the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to finalize the defense cooperation agreement with Qatar. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, look, generally, he's lying again. He greenlighted this, and then he said that we didn't know until the last minute, but he knew. Him and Benjamin Netanyahu are really, really tight. They inform each other about everything. He bombed Iran on behalf of Israel because he was convinced by Benjamin Netanyahu. I personally believe that they have something on him because he's a complete puppet. Trump is a complete puppet. Anyways, I'm going to end with this last picture here. I want you guys to see this. Okay, look at this kid. Okay. This is of somebody that is actually in Palestine, in Gaza. Again, look at this picture carefully, guys. Please tell me, does this little girl here look like she's Hamas? Does this little girl deserve to be bombed and injured like the way she is right now? All right? This is their age to play outside, to have fun, to learn, to get education. This is not right. This is horrible, guys. I urge you again, please, go ahead and write letters to your members of parliament from the states, to your governors, to your senators, to your congress members in Canada, to your PMs, to your members of parliament. Again, I'm repeating myself. Write a letter to the prime minister, send emails, stand up with these people, because when we need them, God forbid if something happens, we're going to need them to do that for us too. We have to unite and we have to stop all this violence, whether it be in Doha, whether it be in Russia, whether it be in Ukraine. This violence has to stop, right? And right now, as far as I'm concerned, there are three major players, and we have Vladimir Putin, we have Donald Trump, and we have Netanyahu. Right, three guys, and look at the chaos that has come forth because of Donald Trump's presidency. Guys, let's pray that these issues are resolved. Let's pray that no more lives are lost in Gaza, especially the kids. My heart honestly breaks for those children. And I urge you, please speak up. Don't be silent. Don't hide the truth. The truth needs to go out there. Don't let anybody convince you that Israel is not killing anybody, that they're not. Okay, there's no food going on. There's still medical blockades. They're bombing hospitals. They just killed recently 50 people in a hospital. Stay tuned for more videos as I will analyze furthermore, and I'm starting to get a little bit better. I know I get excited and I start, giving out a lot of information, but I appreciate you guys watching. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers. Please, I urge you to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on what you think about the situation in Gaza, about Doha, and what's going on around the world. I would love to communicate with you. Again, let's get to 2,000 subscribers. Like, share, leave your comments, and I really do appreciate your support. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.